Hello, Johnny. It's okay. We all know the truth. So today we are yet again going down the rabbit hole, should I just say we're going down the iceberg? You know, it's the same thing as a rabbit hole, but iceberg sounds a bit cooler. And today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite channels of all time, Cartoon Network. And this television studio is responsible for some of my favorite shows of all time. We're talking Courage the Cowardly Dog, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Regular Show, Adventure Time, Teen Titans, Chowder, Samurai Jack, Ed, Edd and Eddy. And that's just scratching the surface, baby. And we even gotten to my favorite part of Cartoon Network, that's Toonami. And it was my introduction into anime, and it had some amazing shows on there. Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, and of course, everybody knows Naruto. And we haven't even broken the surface on Adult Swim. That is a whole complete different section of shows that I love. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Moral Oral, China, Illinois, The Boondocks, Metalocalypse, The Adventure Bros, and Family Guy. We all love Family Guy. But what I'm saying is Cartoon Network is the best. It has some of the most creative and unique animated shows. Way better than Nickelodeon and Disney has ever done. I could literally make an entire episode on the era of Toonami, or why the hell they canceled Chowder. Why did you cancel Chowder? Why? There's so much I love about this studio, and that's why it's going to be so much fun digging deep and finding some deep, dark secrets behind this channel. And I'm just going to try to stay in the confines of just Cartoon Network. I'm not going to go into Adult Swim or Toonami. I kind of feel like they're their own things. So I'm just going to stick within the realm of Cartoon Network. Because let's be real, Adult Swim by itself has some extremely weird shit just on the surface. And something I really found out researching this, and this is a very positive thing in a way, is boy, Cartoon Network has very little controversy, or at least from what I've seen. So a lot of this is just more going to be interesting facts. Sure, there's going to be some creepy stuff near the end, but it's a lot of interesting stuff. So for those who are new to Iceberg videos, basically the concept of my Iceberg videos is there's 5 different tiers. The more you go down, the more disturbing, obscure, and dark it gets. And the last tier is the thing I say for the more, really triggering stuff, which for Cartoon Network, not as bad as Nick or Disney, but very weird stuff. So fair warning before we move on.
Are you guys tired of your lives being stricken with the dark, depressing fact that you yourselves do not own a pair of Raycon earbuds? Well, let's change that. Raycon is a company that I am no stranger to, and you're probably no stranger to either if you've been a subscriber of mine for a while. I've been with them for the better part of a year, potentially even 2 years, and these bad boys have been sticking with me the whole time, have had 0 issues with them whatsoever. Still the exact same quality I had since I got them. And these ones are the everyday earbuds. They look, feel, and sound better than ever. And one of my favorite things about Raycon earbuds is the fact that they do not come out. They have optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. They stay in there, baby. I feel like that's one of my biggest issues with earbuds is when they don't stay in, but these bad boys, oh, they stay in. It has an 8-hour play time and a 32-hour battery life. You're gonna be getting the quality of the top premium audio brands for half the price. And if you don't trust me, you could definitely trust a 49,000 5-star reviews. And also a cool extra feature they have now is Siri and Alexa compatible. And on top of that, they have 3 different sound profiles for your preference. Pure sound for the most refined sound, balanced sound for the most universal and leveled sounds, and of course, bass sound for them bumps. So do yourself a favor, get Raycon earbuds today. Click that link in the description, or you can go to buyraycon.com/Bionicpig to get 15% off your purchase. Do it today.
So the tip of the iceberg, things that a lot of people know, but some people don't, or maybe some people it's like dormant in their memory and I'm about to pop it in your face. Cartoon Network City. Now this is something I remember, and I'm sure a lot of you probably remember as well. This was the 4th era of the Cartoon Network that lasted only a couple years, where there were bumpers between episodes that displayed all of our favorite cartoon characters in a city kind of interacting with each other. And I just wanted to add this one because for me, this was just like the coolest thing back then. Seeing all your favorite characters interact with each other. And not only that, but this is just a very creative and well thought out bumper. Bumpers are just like in between episodes, little tidbits, but this is very well put together. And it shows Cartoon Network's creativity. You could actually get a full printout of Cartoon Network City, like a full map of the Cartoon Network City. Every area had a purpose and they always stayed where it was. Nothing really was contradictory or anything. Top tier memory for me. Love this stuff. The next one's a bit more obscure, kinda cool. Powerpuff Girls Z. Now this one just came as a big surprise to me. Apparently they made a Powerpuff Girls anime in Japan. The anime was co-produced by Cartoon Network Japan and Aniplex and Toei Animation, which I don't know if you guys know this, but those are two enormous anime companies. Like Aniplex is responsible for Full Metal Alchemist, Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann, Gintama, and even Bleach. And obviously not even to mention Toei Animation, we all know that's just all Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, etc. So it's a very big surprise that this show was made and, you know, not many people were really aware of it. Me personally, I'm kind of curious how it was. Like, was it good? And the anime's English language adaptation was actually produced in association with Ocean Productions, which was also with Dragon Ball Z, and it was aired on Cartoon Network in the Philippines and Boomerang in Australia and New Zealand in 2008. So it never really got much airtime at all in America, so that's why we've never heard of it. I mean, me personally, I feel like it would have been a really cool and perfect fit for Toonami, but you know, whatever. You know, maybe they'll bring it back. Moving on to Cartoon Network Reel. This is kind of what I guess destroyed Cartoon Network for a while. This was a block on the channel that it did not last long at all, for it was live action shows, and you know, a studio called Cartoon Network, live action just instantly is not going to do good. And this mostly consisted of game shows, you know, the big game show trend that was going on with Nick. They kind of tried to recreate it, I guess. They had shows like Dude, What Would Happen, Destroy, Rebuild, Destroy, and Brain Rush. And don't get me wrong, they weren't terrible. Like, I watched a couple of them and they're all right. It's just like no one wanted it. No one really cared for it. You know what I mean? And it did so bad, it only lasted a year, or I guess close to a year. It didn't even last a full year. So this next one, I'm pretty certain is just like known by a lot of people. But me personally, I didn't know. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. Apparently, Ace became the basis of Gorilla. Now, the reason this is very interesting is if you don't know who Ace is, he's actually a character off of Powerpuff Girls. On Powerpuff Girls, he was a leader of the Gangrene Gang, and he became a temporary basis for the Gorillaz' 6th studio album, The Now Now, while Murdoch was in prison. You know, all this is within their, like, you know, fictional band world. And then after Murdoch's release from prison, apparently he stated that Ace had gone back home and that he was taking time out to write his memoirs, which is just, it's just cool. Like, it's so cool seeing a character for Powerpuff Girls come on to the Gorillaz. And you could actually see Ace in the music video for the song Humility, you know, that one with Jack Black in it, which I don't know, maybe everyone knows this and I'm just stupid, but this was cool to me. Next, we have the Annoying Orange Show. Yay. Now this one isn't really unknown, it's just the fact that it ever even existed, or even the possibility that was even thought of in the first place. Its mere existence strikes fear into the hearts of millions. Now, for those who are unaware, there was a YouTube channel known as The Annoying Orange, and it blew the frick up back then. It just depicted an orange, and then they cropped their lips and eyeballs onto an orange, and all the orange did was just what the title says, be annoying. You know, it was the era of YouTube where pitching up your voice slightly was literally just peak comedy. And for some strange reason, Cartoon Network's like, yeah, we should make an entire show based around it. Take Annoying Orange YouTube channel, make it into a full-fledged show. That makes sense. And it lasted 60 episodes. That's 2 seasons. That's longer than Chowder lasted. How? Sunday Pants. Now this one's an interesting show that I never knew existed. This show only lasted a month in 2005. Apparently it was supposed to be next to What a Cartoon. You remember that show where it showed like little animated shorts? Well, this show displayed overseas shorts, pilots, college shorts, or even shorts created for the show itself. And the anthology varies on different types of animation, from traditional hand-drawn animation to Flash or even CGI. So it was kind of like a smorgasbord of creative ideas, you know, kind of like What a Cartoon was. But the main reason this show did not last long is the fact that it was PG and had a lot of adult themes and adult jokes throughout the show that just kids didn't get. It was actually complained that the show should have just aired on Adult Swim because it just fit better there. And apparently that's why it just failed so miserably right off the bat. I personally watched a little bit of it because there's actually 5 episodes full on YouTube you could go watch yourself. And, you know, it's not bad, but I can completely see why it would not have done well for younger audiences. But it's a very interesting watch indeed. I would highly recommend it. I mean, it only lasted a month on Cartoon Network, so it's just interesting to see. All right, that clears up the tip. Let's go down a little bit deeper to tier 2. Ed without his hat. Now, a popular thing with the lore of Ed, Edd and Eddy, which me personally, I was into this concept as well, is what the hell is Double D hiding? What's underneath that hat? What do you got under there, Ed? Well, apparently there was a reveal, but it kind of wasn't canon. There was a game that was released called Lunchroom Rumble based on the Ed, Edd and Eddy show. And when you win, there is a screen that congratulates you. And this screen actually has Double D throwing his hat in the air, and you see that he kind of has like a cornrow type haircut. And sure, it's a very low quality image of his head, but you know, it's definitely interesting. And this is the only semi-legit, semi-canon picture of Double D without his hat. We finally did it, guys. We finally solved the mystery. Next, we have The Moxie Show, considered to be the first original Cartoon Network animated show. The interesting part of this one is it's starring Bobcat Goldthwait, Chris Rock, and Penn Jillette. Yeah. What? This is one of the weirdest combination of actors I've ever seen in my life. And the show itself was kind of strange, and it also doubled as kind of like a Cartoon Network bumper as well. And I mean, it did pretty well. You know, it lasted a long time, and you know, it got Cartoon Network started on other shows as well, because that was its first original show. Did well enough where they could move on and do more. So it's a good thing. It's cool to see what the first show was. And you could actually see a lot of this stuff on YouTube. You could find a lot of this on YouTube, which I would highly recommend you do, because a lot of it's interesting. Talking about interesting, the Johnny Bravo talk show called JBVO. Now, this show was just such a cool idea, but I completely get why it didn't last. It was kind of just doomed to fail from the start. But basically, this show was a request show where Johnny was the host, and viewers of Cartoon Network would request by mail-in, or they'd go to the website and they request episodes. You know, episodes of any show that they wanted to watch. And then Johnny Bravo would do his type thing, do his little attitude and stuff like that, and do a little commentary, and then play the episode. Which, as a kid, you know, this would be pretty cool to see. You know, your favorite Johnny Bravo character addressing you directly and playing your favorite episodes. But the reason I brought this up, not only is because the show is cool, but also the fact that there's one interesting episode that has kind of became a big lost media find. So one time a viewer requested an episode of Dragon Ball Z, and the rules of the show is you can't play any episodes that are 30 minutes or longer. So what happened, since the episode was 30 minutes, Johnny Bravo actually double timed the episode and then commentated over the entire episode and gave a play-by-play as to what was happening when. And this was such a sought after episode for so long, and it has been lost media for a very long time, until recently. Now, the whole episode was not found, unfortunately, because god damn it, I want to see this. But someone uploaded like a 5-second clip of Johnny Bravo mentioning the Namekians and talking about the Namekian guru and stuff like that. Apparently, it was on someone's old VHS tape. It was recorded over something. So there was only 5 seconds of it recorded. But watching those 5 seconds, it's so surreal, but at the same time, it's so freaking cool. And personally, I want to find this full episode. If anyone has any information, maybe I just missed something. Maybe I didn't research enough. I want to find this full episode. I want to watch this. It's so cool. Okay, next. Everyone's gonna love this one. Wonder Woman facial. Now, again, this might not be super unknown or obscure, but it's just one of those things as to why. Why did they do it? So there's an episode on Teen Titans Go, which, you know, everybody loves Teen Titans Go, right? Yeah, it's some of your favorite stuff. I mean, sure, it took a fat dump on the original Teen Titans, which actually was a good show, and then belittled the original show and made it look like shit. But anyway, there's a scene on Teen Titans Go that just is problematic. So basically, I guess they're doing a talent show. I don't really care to watch the episode for context personally, because, you know, context doesn't necessarily make it any better. But Beast Boy, for a talent show, turns into a cow and then just blows his load all over Wonder Woman and the entire judge room. Even blows his load into the mouth of Batman. Like, literally all of them took a fat bukkake in the face. Like, you know that the animators were completely aware of what they were doing. And from some of the stuff we're gonna hear later on, you know those animators are freaks, man. You know they did this on purpose. You know. But just the fact that it was on Teen Titans Go, like the baby version of Teen Titans, is just, damn. Damn. Next, we have rude removal. Now, this one's pretty interesting. Just another case of them trying to sneak adult stuff into kids' cartoons. And something interesting about this is, I remember this episode. I don't know if this is some weird memory, a jumbo wumbo, but for some reason I remember this. And this never aired. This was never aired on Cartoon Network. Apparently, it was never aired on Cartoon Network. I don't know. Maybe someone had like the uncut DVD or something like that. But in this episode, Dexter invents a rude removal machine that does, you know, what the name says. It removes the rudeness out of you. And then both Dee Dee and Dexter get in the machine, and they both split into a good version of themselves and a rude version of themselves. In the beginning of this episode, the title screen depicts Dee Dee flipping the bird and Dexter mooning the camera. And similar to that SpongeBob episode where they used, you know, dolphin noises to filter out the words, they did that. But in this one, it's way more aggressive, and they actually used the real censor sound. Like, instead of them doing it unknowingly, they're aggressively just cussing at Dexter's mom and stuff. It's honestly hilarious.
Hey, where's the f***ing candy? Hey, watch where you're throwing that!
And you could actually find the entire episode on YouTube, and the episode is, again, hilarious. And not only that, but someone did sentence mixing, which, if you guys don't know what sentence mixing is, basically it's when you take words that the characters say, jumble them up to sound like other words. They did that, and they made a very convincing recreation of the episode where they're actually cussing. Not gonna lie, it's pretty good.
Hey, where's the fucking candy?
All right. Time for tier 3, going a bit deeper, baby. Let's start with something that everyone loves. Cartoon boobies. I know what you watch. I know the stuff you're into. You're weird. Stop it, it's not healthy. The topless Heather scene in Total Drama Island. Now, Total Drama Island is not, afraid of their controversies. They've had a few, but this one was just interesting because it has a topless, uncensored scene, which, as for a channel whose target audience is children, not okay. So this one's a bit up for debate whether or not it's real or if it's fake. There is a scene on Total Drama Island, and this is the real scene. This is the actual scene in the show where Heather's top gets ripped off by a branch, and then she stands up, shows her titties, but they're blurred out. They're like pixelated out, which I just want to mention, already weird. Like, these characters are supposed to be 16 years old, or at least Heather is from what I've seen. So it's just, the fact of them adding a topless scene at all is just weird. But there's actually a version that was put on YouTube that shows it without the pixelation, and oh my god, it's so convincing, and it's so hard to believe that it's faked. And I just want to mention, it's not confirmed if it's fake. Actually, the majority of people believe it's real. So that begs the question, did the animators actually animate real cartoon boobies and then pixelate it? I mean, why would this scene ever be shown in the first place? It doesn't make sense. There's even more rumors that that uncensored boobie scene was actually aired in Canada, but I mean, you know, that one's a little bit far-fetched. But the only reason I believe that the actual, you know, boobies out version that is on YouTube, you can go watch it. Obviously, I'm not going to show it. The reason I believe it's real is the fact that they pixelated it. They gave like a classic censor pixelation of her boobies instead of doing what most cartoon channels do and just like would cover it with another, like maybe a tree branch. I feel like that shows that they definitely did animate the actual boobies, which is just weird. Next, we have an alternative Adventure Time Enchiridion title screen. Now, this one, short and sweet, on the episode titled The Enchiridion. The title card was originally supposed to be very graphic, showing Finn basically gutting Jake and ripping out his organs on the title screen, which is pretty graphic. I mean, I can show it on my video, right? Like, I don't think YouTube's gonna take it down or you know, flag me for this, right? But I can see why they opted to get a more censored version of this for kids, because it's honestly quite brutal. I'm not gonna lie. Next, we have the Clarence American Psycho reference, which this one is honestly kind of just hilarious. American Psycho as a whole is just a memeable movie. There are many things in American Psycho that are just ridiculous. But there's a scene in the show, Clarence, that depicts a recreation of the introduction of the main character in American Psycho. This one is just interesting as it's such a weird thing for a kid's show to do a nod to American Psycho of all things. Anti-racist PSA. Now, this one I feel like a lot of people probably have seen, and you know, it was trending on Twitter a little while. The Cartoon Network released an anti-racism PSA depicting two kids, one white, one black, talking about getting married when they're older, and then one says they can't get married because the other one's black and one's white. And then they send a Steven Universe character down and says, don't be racist. And this, for some reason, made everyone's minds explode. Like, people lost their freaking marbles about this. I've never seen so many people freak out over someone saying, don't be racist. But the huge debate was like whether or not children should be introduced to racism or shown what racism is and how you shouldn't be racist, etc. Which, my personal opinion, it's literally a video of someone saying, don't be racist. If kids see a video that says, don't be racist, I don't understand how it's bad. But personally, I think the reason people were upset is the kids were gay, but I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that. Okay, I just wanted to mention it. We're gonna move on. And I just wanna say, I said this in the beginning, and I think you're starting to realize Cartoon Network does not have much controversy. I searched, man. I dug. They have nothing compared to Disney or Nickelodeon, which is a good thing. You know, I like Cartoon Network. But moving on, I feel like this is probably one of the biggest controversies they've had. The Moonanites bomb scare. On January 31st, 2007, the city of Boston united to fend off a citywide terror threat. And this terror threat came in the form of Moonanites giving you the finger. Apparently, someone mistook these Aqua Teen Hunger Force little things as bombs, which is both scary and kind of hilarious. But Turner Broadcasting, the parent company of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, got in very big trouble over this ad campaign. It actually terrified many people in Boston. This actually pushed the president of Cartoon Network to literally step down because of this fiasco, and they ended up having to pay Boston $1 million settlement over an ad campaign, which, I mean, you know, in hindsight, you know, putting fake bomb looking things on an ad, maybe not the best idea. All right, we're moving down a bit on to tier 4, baby. This one's gonna be full of theories of different shows. You may or may not have heard of these, but a lot of them make sense and a lot of them are very interesting. The post-depression theory of Scooby-Doo. This one is very interesting and well-accepted theory of why the world that mysterious gang living in is always broken down and kind of shitty. And also the theory of why everyone kind of wears a mask. So this theory states that the original Scooby-Doo cartoon took place during a period of economic depression, you know, making sense of why every place they visit ends up being run down and kind of crap. The economic depression was so terrible that it even affected famous people like celebrities, professors, and even athletes, you know, like some of the villains on the show. And because of these setbacks, many of these highly respected individuals devoted themselves to a life of crime, often disguising themselves as monsters to evade blame. This also explains why the teenage characters are never seen in school, because during this time, all schools are shut down. Additionally, since the gang is always in their van with no clear destination, it's kind of highly accepted that all of them are homeless because of the economic depression, which, you know, does explain a lot about the show and does match up pretty well, but it's just a theory. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna say the thing. Now for the next theory. This one, I love this theory. I've heard this one before and it explained a lot for me. The Ed, Edd and Eddy purgatory theory. Now this one I remember reading when I was younger and it made so much sense. Now when you watch Ed and Eddy, do you ever get this like weird vibe? Almost a sense of loneliness and separation and kind of the feeling of like a creepypasta where like something unknown is there and you don't know what it is. I remember there was a scene in the show where it just silently showed different shots of the cul-de-sac and I was so unsettled and I couldn't understand why. Well, there's this theory out there that kind of explains it to an extent. You ever notice that there's never any adults, or at least, you know, never any adults to show their faces? According to this theory, the children of the cul-de-sac all hail from different areas, spanning from the early 1900s to the 2000s, and they're all living in purgatory. And this would explain why the year of the show is never really explained and kind of hard to pinpoint. But every single character can be traced back to a different era of life. You know, Rolf was in the 1900s, and apparently he died from his farm animals stampeding over him, and that's why his farm animals are with him. Johnny came from 1922 and died after a long fight of tuberculosis. Eddie was born in New York City during the Great Depression, didn't have a father, so he spent most of his time trying to con people in order to make money to survive. And apparently he was always with his brother, and that's why he looks up to his brother so much during the show. And then we have Ed and Sarah's father, who died in World War II, and as a result, their mother became very distant, which is why we always see Sarah as such a bossy, controlling attitude toward her brother, because she's kind of playing the role of a parent toward him. And apparently they died in a freak car accident. There's actually like very detailed descriptions of every single character. And this last one is just why? So Naz came from the 70s with hippie parents, which definitely makes sense. And she had a very flirtatious personality, and no joke, this is word for word what the theory says. A serial killer escaped from a local asylum, made his way into her house, and R-worded her and murdered her along with her entire family. Yeah, bit excessive, I would say. But I highly recommend going to read every single character's story because it's very interesting. And the reason I'm not reading every single character is because every single backstory is very long. Like, there's literally paragraphs of each character. Next one, the disturbing pilot episode of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy called Billy and Mandy in Trepanation of the Skull and You. Now, the reason this one's so creepy is it depicts a black and white Billy and Mandy. However, they look a bit different, as Mandy has a gigantic smile plastered across her face, and then she drills a hole in Billy's head, and then it just starts spurting out blood everywhere. Like, it literally looks like this is just a creepypasta. And this later turned out to be the beginning of what would be the final show of, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I guess this explains why Billy acts the way he does. That's the only thing I could think of. But very creepy. That's all I'll say. Tier 5. So this one has everything that would be considered triggering or unsettling. So, fair warning before we get into this. Tier 5. So this one has everything that would be considered triggering or unsettling. So, fair warning before we get into this. So next we have Skylar Paige controversy. This one is just kind of strange. On July 3rd, 2014, Skylar Paige was fired from Cartoon Network after having a mental breakdown infrequently caused by bipolar. And the reason this doesn't make sense is bipolar does not cause sexual harassment, But then he was accused of sexually harassing someone named Emily Partridge, who is a writer from another show. Jeff Rowe said on his Tumblr page that Skylar is currently in the hospital seeking medical treatment for his bipolar disorder. Supposedly, he did stuff like putting cigarettes up his nose and running around shirtless, which I guess could be like a manic episode of a bipolar situation, but the sexual harassment, that you can't blame that on bipolar. And apparently the sexual harassment, which makes this even weirder, is Skylar Paige just made an E.T. hand toward Emily Partridge's crotch. So basically he just poked her crotch. And I don't know if he's using the ET as like an excuse or like a way to explain it away as a joke, but in what way is that normal or okay? But this one's just interesting, with this mental break and the bipolar disorder and then the ET crotch poke. And now we got another instance of animators being weird. Now this one, I'll admit, is more of just like funny, I guess, compared to anything else. So Rebecca Sugar is the creator of Steven Universe. I don't know why it keeps being Steven Universe. And again, this one's just funny. She drew some nice Ed, Edd and Eddie porn, like full on Ed, Edd and Eddie getting it on action, full. Apparently she drew this in her 20s. I just want to mention this. But personally, I just find this hilarious that she went on to create a very popular animated show for children while she also was, drawing some Ed, Edd and Eddie porn beforehand. Okay, this last one, save for last. One of my favorite ones, the Skinwalker theory of courage. Now this one has some real merit to it. It's not just a theory just to be a theory. It's actually real. What if I told you Courage the Cowardly Dog was based on a true story? The rundown old house you see in every single episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, what if that was based on a true location? And this real location has a very interesting backstory.
Now I do want to mention this theory did get a little bit popular, like in the realm of Reddit and maybe a little bit on TikTok and just, Twitter posts here and there. And a lot of the facts of this are kind of all over the place, but I did my best to research as much as possible to kind of figure out what really is going on and what actually happened at this house. Now, a lot of people say it was an elderly couple and a dog, but actually it was an elderly couple and a cat, which, I mean, to be fair, the pet doesn't really matter regardless, it's just a pet. Their names were William and Margaret. William was apparently described as a not so nice person, whereas Margaret was described as a very nice person. They owned a business called Patterson Photo Supply. And the reason this is so talked about is the fact that they were actually known in the community and their disappearances are still not solved to this day. There's definitely a lot of mystery and theories that go behind this. I mean, this case, again, still hasn't been solved and still is open. Apparently, friends of the couple told police that they went on an extended vacation to Florida and had sent instructions to distribute their assets and property to their friends, family, and employees, which obviously is pretty suspicious. And also friends who have talked to him days before the disappearances heard nothing about them traveling or going on vacation, or even seemed like anything was off at all. It just seemed like a normal day for them. And what makes things even weirder is some friends even mentioned that they actually made plans to hang out like a week in advance, you know, before they disappeared. And the scene that was described at the house is as following. Margaret's fur coat and the couple's other expensive clothes were left at the cleaners. The house was in complete chaos with piles of dishes in the sink, and the house was described by police as being devoid of life. Go over the theories as to what happened, and I'll talk about what I personally think happened. Now, obviously, these theories include many different things, going up to UFOs and even aliens. You guys know how it is. And the very popular accepted theory is the idea of skinwalker, which is what the theory is. You know, it's called the skinwalker theory, where a lot of people said that this couple saw many sightings of skinwalkers and reported them to police and stuff like that. But there's so many contradicting articles. Some people say that's not true. Some people say it's definitely true. You kind of just gotta, you know, take it with a grain of salt. And apparently in 1984, the Pattersons' former caretaker confessed to seeing and cleaning up blood in the garage as part of a scalp on the Pattersons' boat. And he also claimed to have seen an associate of the Pattersons put a bloody sheet in the trunk of their car. And apparently the reason he never said anything about it is the fear of deportation, since he was technically undocumented. So let's talk about what I personally think happened. There's this man named David Ray Parker, and he has another nickname. He was called the Toy Box Killer. So Margaret and William Patterson and their pet lived in a town called Truth and Consequence. This man named David Ray Parker, or better known as Toy Box Killer, was living in a town called Elephant Boot or Butt, I don't know. But that was approximately 7 miles north of Truth and Consequence. And let's give you guys a little bit of an idea of what this man was known for. David Parker Ray was an American kidnapper, torturer, and suspected serial killer. Though no bodies were found, Ray was accused by his accomplices of killing several women and was suspected by the police to have murdered as many as 60 plus women from Arizona. Apparently, Ray soundproofed a semi-trailer, which he called his toy box, and equipped it with items used for sexual torture. He would kidnap between 5 to 6 women a year, holding each of them captive for around 3 to 4 months. During this period, he would sexually abuse his victims, sometimes involving his dog or his wife, who participated willingly in her husband's crimes. And he would often torture them with surgical instruments. Then Ray would drug them with barbiturates, which apparently is a drug that acts as a central nervous system depressant, in an attempt to erase their memories of what happened, and then he kind of just drops them on the side of the road. Ray was convicted of kidnapping and torture in 2001, for which he received a lengthy sentence. But unfortunately, he was never convicted of murder, and then he died of a heart attack about 1 year after his convictions in 2 cases. And if we want to get a little bit more detailed, because this does go into more detail, he apparently killed his victims using whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, electric shock machines, and saws. Holy shit. And apparently there was a mirror mounted on the ceiling above the table to which he strapped his victims. How did this man not get charged with murder? But anyway, getting to my theory, this man killed 60 plus people, and he lived 7 miles from Truth and Consequence, and apparently he was known to go to different towns to kidnap people and to, you know, do whatever he did. And as it said in the police report, there has been 0 bodies found. He's been accused of 60 plus murders. However, 0 bodies found, and that couple are completely missing. And they were completely missing out of the blue, with no response from anyone, with no signs showing that they were going to leave. And apparently by this article, their friends received notes from them saying where they were going and what they were doing. So the possibility is there that David Ray Parker potentially kidnapped both of them and, you know, did whatever he did, and then left notes for their friends. Now, you gotta remember, this was in the 80s. You know, serial killers and murderers kind of could just do what they want and not get caught. That's just kind of how it was. But how they kind of just disappeared out of the blue, plus this David Ray Parker guy, 7 miles down the road, convicted of kidnapping and killing 60 plus people, and none of those people have been found. It kind of starts connecting the dots, you know what I mean? And the house that everyone relates this to is none other than this house, which is actually located in Truth and Consequence. Now, I don't actually believe the Pattersons lived in this house necessarily. Apparently they lived somewhere else, but this house is located in Truth and Consequence, which is the same town where this took place. So a lot of the dots are really starting to connect here. And if this was the main inspiration for Courage the Cowardly Dog, man, that makes the show 1,000 times more creepy. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Courage the Cowardly Dog theory, and that is the Cartoon Network Iceberg. Now, it's a good and technically a bad thing at the same time that I could not find much on Cartoon Network. Like, I dug for hours and hours on end, trying to find as much as I could, as much dirt as possible on Cartoon Network. And I'll be honest, there's not much. Now, as I said before, this could be a good thing or this could be a bad thing. That could just mean the Cartoon Network is good at hiding things, or that could just mean Cartoon Network is actually surprisingly a good studio who doesn't do disgusting things like Nickelodeon or Disney. But I will admit, that is hard to believe. But a part of me wants to believe that Cartoon Network is actually this good and not as terrible as these other companies. But what do you guys think? Leave in the comments below. Do you think Cartoon Network has some stuff that I don't know about? If you want to tell me about something that I maybe have missed, please leave in the comments below. If you want to see a different type of iceberg, please let me know what kind of iceberg you'd like me to cover next, because I do enjoy going down these rabbit holes with you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about me, especially your mom.